Welcome back to the Viking Update Show. He's John Krawczynski, who's also star of the John Krawczynski Show here at TalkNorth.com. This is TalkNorth.com. We're coming from the Aquarius Home Services studio.
Scott for Aquarius Home Services. Summer's packing up and chilly mornings are sneaking in. Don't face them with a cranky furnace, flickering lights, or a water heater that quits mid-shower. With $98 off any furnace, electrical, or plumbing repair, we'll fix the headaches so you can sip cider, rake leaves, or just pretend to rake leaves. Aquarius, local, trusted, and earning the right to be recommended. Schedule today at AquariusHomeservices.com.
Hey, this is Randy Shaver. Along with Kevin Gorg, we host the show Fantasy Huddle on Talk North. Each week, we're going to break down the matchups for the NFL season and try to give you the best chance to win your fantasy football games each and every week. Join us for Fantasy Huddle on Talk North.
And the Viking Update Show is brought to you by Onyx Hunt. We'll tell you about more about Onyx Hunt and our other sponsors, including Twill and Minnesota State Lottery, here in a minute. All right, John. Vikings coming out of the bye. We're talking here on Tuesday morning. The NFC North standings are absolutely packed. Nobody's great in the NFC right now, but there are a lot of contenders, including surprising the Bears at this point. Do you feel like compared to where optimism was at the beginning of this Vikings season, do you think the arrow should be more pointed up or down now that they're heading into week 7?
I think I'm a little down, compared to where I was at the start of the season. I think the uncertainty at quarterback, but more so just all the injuries that they've dealt with. It looks like a team, at least right now, that isn't quite as dynamic on both sides of the ball that I thought that they were going to be. Now, it doesn't mean that they can't find that form and figure things out. But, this has been it feels like more of a slog through the early portion of this schedule. And now it gets really difficult with the strength of schedule and the opponents and everything that they have coming in. And so, I still think that, I'm definitely not doomsday on it, but, I definitely, my optimism is tempered, coming from what we've seen so far and knowing what is ahead of them here coming forward.
Yeah, I think if you were going to be an optimist in August, what you would hope to see by this point is good, healthy J.J. McCarthy. And we've only had one quarter of that. Certainty at the quarterback position, fewer injuries, and fewer situations in which an injury really hurt the team. Because it's one thing, the next man up thing in the NFL. It sounds great, right? Next man up only works if the next man up is really good. It can't be just any man up. It's the next guy up's got to be good. And what we've seen is when Van Ginkel's out, defense falls off. When Cashman's out, defense falls off. We're still not sure about the secondary. Isaiah Rodgers had a spectacular stretch here, but we're still not sure that secondary is fully functioning secondary. We still haven't seen a lot of Harrison Smith. He's made a few nice plays when he's been in there, but he's just not an every down player. Offensive line has been devastated. Aaron Jones, being out. I mean, we all love Jordan Mason, but he's fumbled the ball. It's like nothing really feels as good or settled as you would have hoped, with perhaps the obvious, which is that Justin Jefferson's still a great receiver.
Yeah, it's like, you look at so far what they've done, and the Bengals game was obviously overpowering. That was fluky a little bit with the defensive touchdowns and everything. But even in the wins so far, it's been all right. Yeah, that was good, but nothing that so far has indicated to me that this is a team that has another gear to find. And maybe they do. And maybe they will come out of the bye a little refreshed. Maybe getting Blake Cashman back will help, and a few other things will fall into place, and then they will really take off. But to this point, it has been just an okay start to the season. Not disastrous, not terrible, but not really showing signs of they're really close to being a team that can be in contention in the NFC North, that could get to the playoffs and win games. I just think that it's just been underwhelming to this point.
It has. We're going to talk about quarterbacks. We're going to talk about the injuries, talk about the rest of the league. Let's start here, though, because we've all been looking forward, or for some Vikings fans, dreading that 4-game stretch out of the bye. You're going to face, and as recently as about a month ago, you're saying, okay, 4 Super Bowl contenders. How do you survive that stretch? What's fascinating about the league, it goes back to the old Bud Grant saying, it's not who you play, but when you play them. What's fascinating about the league is every week you tend to look at the remaining schedule differently than you did the previous week. And now you look at it, and the Vikings are playing the Eagles at perhaps the perfect time. The Eagles are not running the ball nearly as well as they did last year. Saquon Barkley looks like last year took something out of him. They're not getting the ball to A.J. Brown all that much. Jalen Hurts had a chance to hit Devontae Smith for a long touchdown that might have turned that game around last week. He missed him by 20 yards. He has not been as efficient as you would like. Defense has been good, not great. And the Eagles have lost a couple in a row. And they got run by the Giants, which is not a sentence I thought I'd be saying anytime this year. So the Eagles they're still good and still a great roster, but they're not as scary good as they were. Then you have the Chargers, who are dealing with a lot of injuries. Still very talented team, very good team, but not as scary as they might have been a month ago. Then the Lions. I do think the Lions are very good.
Yes.
But they have lost a couple of games, and they've lost when they've played really good teams. They have not looked like quite the same team. And then the Ravens are the Ravens are as big a mess as they've been in 20 years. 20 years. They are as bad a team as we've seen them be for a long time. This is a franchise that just knows how to draft, knows how to develop talent. And right now they can't do anything right. So, a month ago, I might have said, boy, if they win one of those 4 games, then they've kind of salvaged something. I think if they're really contenders, they should win 2 out of these 4 games.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I actually think that in that way, Jim, I think Sunday is an important game.
Yeah.
I really do think that if they come out of the bye and they play well and they beat the Eagles, even if the Eagles are not necessarily what we thought they were at the start of the season, that would still be a big win to get. And I think that could help springboard them forward a little bit and just kind of help them locate some mojo that just hasn't really been there for most of the season. And then, you get that win, and then you have the next one on Thursday. And so it's just like this 2 games, especially just right out of the break, that are so close together against teams that are good, but are, a little weakened or vulnerable. If you could find a way to get those 2, right away, then I think you're really set up to maybe start to get some momentum, put some things together and rediscover yourselves a little bit. But, I'm going to be watching very closely on Sunday. Just how do they look? Does this, is this a team that can take a struggling team and jump on top of them and keep them down? Or is this the team that the struggling team uses to get right and get moving? I think it's going to be pretty telling when we walk out of there on Sunday evening, what the state of the Vikings landscape is.
And looking at it the way you just set it up, to me, that almost heightens the importance of finding a way to beat Philadelphia, because as good as Philadelphia is, it's a home game coming out of your bye with you getting healthier with your roster and being as healthy as you've been for a while. I just don't know about flying west to face a really good team
for sure
on a short week after playing a physical game against the Eagles. I have an easier time imagining the Vikings finding a way to win at home on Sunday against a good Eagles team than I do for playing 4 days later after a long flight in Los Angeles.
No question about it. Absolutely. I think that, typically speaking, what we've seen from the Vikings is when they go west to LA, it doesn't really work out very well for them. I think especially on a short week, I do think that, the home game against the Eagles is really important, because who knows what's going to happen in that Thursday game? You really don't. And so getting that one coming out of the bye, I just think is crucial to them in terms of just the overall feel for what this season can be. Whatever happens on Thursday happens, and maybe they win, maybe they lose, and you can explain away either one of it. But But you know that the Eagles are struggling right now. You know that you're coming out of the bye and at least a little bit healthier and a little stronger. This is one that it feels like a good team just goes in there and wins and plays well and does it. And so, we'll find out, if they lose on Sunday, I think that would be disappointing in terms of like just the outlook for the rest of the season. Even if at the start of the season, Jim, I thought, well, Eagles on a Sunday, that's a loss. Like, I just think that it's different now. And there's a little more, I think, even urgency to this game, given how it's gone for both teams going into it.
We're talking here on Tuesday morning. Maybe there'll be some news breaking in the next day or two, but we're going to talk about the quarterback situation in the big picture, given what we know now. Let's get to that in a second. Do you want to tell you about Onyx Hunt? Have you ever driven past a piece of land and wondered who owns that? Or maybe you need to know exactly where a property line runs. That's where Onyx Hunt comes in. And it's not just for hunters. There are folks using Onyx for their jobs every day throughout the country, from farmers and ranchers mapping out their fields, wildland firefighters navigating rough terrain, to construction workers needing to know who owns what property. This app offers something for everyone. If you need the best land ownership maps, aerial imagery, and property boundaries in your pocket, Onyx Hunt is the tool for the job. Try it free for 7 days. Download Onyx Hunt in the app or Google Play Store, or visit onyxmaps.com/hunt to get started. We would also like to thank Twill. I am wearing a Johnny O shirt and a Johnny O hat. I also wear a lot of their Peter Millar stuff. I wear their Brax stuff. Pretty much head to foot, I wear stuff I got from Twill. You can buy casual shoes, dress shoes, shoes that I wore at my daughter's wedding with a tux. I bought a bow tie that I wore with the tux to my daughter's wedding. I bought tailored suits, sports jackets, dress shirts, t-shirts, fun shirts, golf shirts that look good under a jacket, casual pants, jeans, belts, socks. You get the picture. They have everything. And it's a cozy shop. It's not some huge department store. You walk in, the people who work there are incredibly knowledgeable. Scott Dayton handpicks them. They are people who you'll see them over and over again once you start going, because they like working there. They are great to deal with. You can walk in and browse. You can walk in and ask for something. One of my favorite shopping experiences there was I needed a pair of jeans. I wanted to buy them from Twill. I wasn't sure what they had. I walked in and I said, "Do you have any just like basic blue jeans that would look good and wear well?" And the gentleman worked behind the desk said, "Okay, you need such and such a size, and I have them over here." I was out in like 2 minutes, and I still wear those jeans all the time. That's the kind of shopping experience you'll get at Twill. Twill by Scott Dayton in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com. All right, let's get to the quarterbacks. Interesting to hear Kevin O'Connell phrase things the way he did on Monday, which was, hey, Carson Wentz is, a veteran. He's dealing with a shoulder, but you kind of get the sense that, hey, Carson Wentz knows how to play with a sore left shoulder. And when he talked about McCarthy, it was about mechanics and footwork and, trying to get him back in the right frame. And we're all capable of reading too much into these things, but I think O'Connell tries to leave breadcrumbs. Sometimes he leaves them and confuses you. Sometimes he leaves them for you in the right place and leads you to the right place. But it almost sounded to me like O'Connell was doing what I expected, which is setting the stage for Wentz starting on Sunday. And if Wentz is going to start on Sunday, he's probably going to start on Thursday if he's healthy, and then deferring this decision until McCarthy is really healthy and you have that 10-day break before the Lions game.
Yeah, I think so, Jim. That's what makes the most sense to me with all of this. And I think that you can reasonably say that, hey, JJ McCarthy had a high ankle sprain. Those are difficult injuries to come to recover from and take a while to get back. We're also banged up all over the place, offensive line, everywhere else. And you have 2 games in 5 days. Like, let's just get through this little stretch and then evaluate, because it also gives JJ the time to get even closer to full health. And when you're talking about a young quarterback who does like to move around like JJ does, and I just do think that the responsible thing to do is to say, we want you fully healthy when we get back out there, especially when you're still trying to find your footing quite literally and figuratively with this offense. Like, let's give you the best chance to succeed, because the first go round this season was up and down. And so if he had come out of the gates firing completely in the first couple of weeks before he got injured, and he's like, yeah, this is our guy right now, then maybe it's a little bit different. But I just think that JJ McCarthy is the kind of player that you want to have as close to ideal circumstances around him to help him before you put him back out there. And so I'm fully expecting Carson Wentz to start on Sunday and then start again on Thursday and then reevaluate after that.
Yes, that just makes sense. And I don't think we need to pretend there are any conspiracy theories going on here. I think some of the ways the Vikings have handled things have led to conspiracy theories, but I think it's really simple right now. I do think they still view McCarthy as a franchise quarterback, and I don't think that's changed through 2 games. And I think they also want to be really careful of that injury and be really careful of his development and not put him in a position where he can either be re-injured easily or have his confidence damaged easily. So I think that's where we're headed. What's going to be really interesting once we look at it that way is Wentz is an older guy who got really beat up in that last game. Yes, he's had a bye week to recover here. And he ran the ball 3 or 4 times where it looked like he thought he had his old legs and he could make a first down, and he couldn't get there. And because he couldn't get there, he ended up taking a big hit. I think he did a really good job getting rid of the ball quickly, managing the offense. And of course he was brilliant on the last drive, but O'Connell's going to coach him hard. And I wonder if they can coach that out of him. Hey, Carson, you're not going to get 8 yards on 3rd and 8. So don't even try. Hang in the pocket and wait for something to develop.
Yeah, I don't know what what Kevin O'Connell's message might be there, because, I don't know that you want to take aggressiveness away from him or take something out of his, back pocket to use. But I do think it is right that ideally you do sit in the pocket, let the plays develop, Addison and Jefferson, the more time you give them, the more likelihood it is that they come open and that you can make something happen. But kind of to a larger point on this subject is that's why I think that any sort of concern about the timeline for when you get JJ back in there and when you don't and all that is a little bit overwrought right now, because I think there's going to be an opportunity that happens organically with Carson Wentz. Either he is going to get hurt, whether he's scrambling, whether the leaky line lets someone in or whatever, he'll get a little banged up, or, he will struggle and it'll be a thing like, hey, it's not working out for you. Let's give the youngster a try again. And so sort of trying to manufacture a reason or the logic to put him back, McCarthy back in, sooner rather than later, I think is just unnecessary. I just think that let this thing play out. You don't have to rush McCarthy back, and there will more than likely be an opportunity that arises where it's like, yep, it's time to go back to McCarthy. And if it doesn't, that means that you are winning a bunch of games and Carson Wentz is playing great. And I think you just ride that as long as you need to.
Agreed. Let's look at the division here. The Packers look like the best team in football after 1 week. They have really not been all that impressive since. And they had an opportunity to kind of get out to a big lead in the division, and they've blown that. Doesn't mean they still won't win the division, but it has not gone perfectly for them. I do see some positive developments. I think Matthew Golden's coming along nicely. He's going to be an impact player. Jacobs is still a monster, but Parsons has not been the impact player. That maybe the lesson here is that if you trade for a superstar from Dallas, don't expect him to just fix everything for you.
Maybe Jerry Jones is the genius. Maybe it is.
I just can't. I can't do it. I can't. I think Jerry screwed up, and the Packers, for some reason, and one thing coming out of Packer camp is that Parsons feels like he's being held on every play, and that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but that's an excuse. That's a weak excuse. Yeah. So something is not quite right there, and maybe maybe it just takes time. The trade happened very late, and maybe he's going to need to settle in. Or I do think that part of the calculus in the Cowboys' decision was
this guy is going to demand a ton of money, and he's had some injury issues, and there's been some things that's come up. And so maybe there are some physical things. I think the other interesting part of the Packers right now, Jim, is like, Jordan Love has been fine, but like, if you want to be a team that goes to the Super Bowl, that is considered the favorite in the conference, I think you need more out of him than what you've gotten to this point. And so, that's kind of something that I'm watching right now is like, okay, where is he on his development curve? And, and what's happening here? Cause there are times where he lets a throw fly on the run, and you're like, my gosh, that's prime Aaron Rodgers right there. But then there's a lot of times where it's just like, is that all you got? Like, is that, is there a ceiling on this that's lower than some people thought? And I think that's going to be the big key for the Packers down the stretch here.
Yeah, I think he's a really talented, quality player who you're not sure you can trust.
Yeah, that's fair. He's huge arm talent and all those things, but he has, he had the one win in the playoffs against the Cowboys, but you really haven't seen him have a lot of moments yet of like, okay, I'm taking control of this. This is my team, and I'm one of the best in the league doing this. And he's just not there. Also,
playoff wins against the Cowboys probably aren't base projections gracious on. Yeah. All right, let's get to the injury situation, what could transpire and how it could change the season. First, we want to thank and welcome back Minnesota State Lottery.
She's Jan, the ultimate Vikings fan.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the Vikings Jan Show fan show. My special guest today is Jared Allen. So, Jared, who you got for the Vikings game this week?
Minnesota Vikings.
Me too. So that's our show. We'd like to thank our sponsor, the Minnesota Lottery, who reminds you this could be your year. Play the new
Vikings
Scratch Game for a shot at $100,000, game tickets, and more. Minnesota Lottery. I'm in. Must be 18 or older to play.
And here's Talk North star Michael Russo for Clamshell Beach Resorts.
Hey, have you been dreaming of a lake cabin lifestyle with boating, fishing, and family fun in northern Minnesota? Well, lately I've thought a lot about how cool it would be to have a getaway like so many Minnesotans. And if you're like me, you probably think that owning your own lakeside getaway is beyond your budget. Well, if you think lake cabin real estate prices keep going up, well, think again. This is Russo, and I'm here to tell you there is an affordable way to enjoy a cabin lifestyle and all that goes with it. And yes, I said affordable. I founded a Clamshell Beach Resort, which is located on the Whitefish chain of 14 lakes for you and your family to enjoy. Here's how. Clamshell has lake homes that offer deeded fractional ownership, and the keywords there are deeded and fractional. You own it. Imagine having 5 weeks a year to enjoy Clamshell with its beaches, pool, and lodge that's full of kids' activities. Is golf your game? There's a great golf course right across the road. Like winter sports? Well, you can go ice fishing, cross-country skiing, or snowmobiling right out the door at Clamshell. And there's no maintenance, no grass mowing, no snow removal. It's done all for you. And you can own a share of Clamshell Beach Resort at an affordable price. To learn more about ownership opportunities at Clamshell Beach Resort, go to cottagesonwhitefish.com or contact Pat Egan at 612-220-9819. That's cottagesonwhitefish.com or Pat Egan at 612-220-9819.
All right, so they should be a healthier team on Sunday. It's always hard to project who's going to actually be ready, but Cashman's coming into his 21-day window. I could see if he feels good at practice this weekend playing, he makes a massive difference. And this team, might be one game better and really have a nice record if he had been in the game instead of whoever was supposed to be covering DK Metcalf over the middle against the Steelers. Because if the Steelers don't make that play, Vikings probably win that game. I think Van Ginkel's out for a while. I think Ryan Kelly's out for a while. They should be getting Brian O'Neill back, should be getting Juergens back. Sounds like Donovan Jackson's trending in the right direction. So you could see some real fixes for the front seven, the offensive line, and then we'll see if Darisaw is ready to play full game, and we'll see if Harrison Smith is ready to play more snaps.
Yeah, it's, we talked before, I think going into the bye about kind of who our key players were coming out of it. And Blake Cashman was mine. Like, I think the defense operates at a different level when he is out there. Now, the defense has been good, but they're, outside of, the Bengals game, like they haven't been like what I expected in terms of just like level of nastiness, like just take over the game type of a defense. And I think that having Cashman back against the run in pass coverage, like all of the things that he can do would be huge for this team. And whether that happens Sunday or maybe they wait till Thursday or something, like I'm not sure, but it seems imminent. The one I'm worried about is Van Ginkel. Like I don't get good vibes about where he is and where that's headed and what he's dealing with. So losing him and then kind of forcing even more onto Dallas Turner's plate, I think is a concern at this point for me.
Yeah, when I was in London, Van Ginkel didn't even come close to the practice, stepping on the field. Then they've had the bye. Now they have this week, and he's going to be working on the side again. Either this is a late season, maybe tentatively try to come back, or this is the kind of deal where he and his agent say, you know what, something's wrong and we might as well fix it now. And then he's out for the year. And he's a vital player for this group. The offensive line should be better. So here's the easy debate to have, and I'll throw it out there because I haven't talked to you about it. They had Darisaw on they either had him on a pitch count or he basically came to them late in the game, said, it's not right now. I can't push it any farther. Either way, they ended up using their bullets with him early in their game. He's not on the field for the game-winning drive. Now, they scored the winning touchdown, the game-winning drive. That relieves the pressure. It doesn't have to be some big controversial thing. But what's your sense of how they've handled him and how they handled him in the last game?
Yeah, I'll just say to me, it's just weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no sort of internal knowledge of whether this was the Vikings, kind of setting a protocol for him or, Darisaw speaking up for himself. I'd say reading between the lines of what Kevin O'Connell said after the game, it indicates to me, my guess is, it's just purely a guess, that this was more Darisaw saying, look, I can't go. And that is interesting to me because the previous week against Pittsburgh, he played a ton. And so either that is he went through that game and came out of it and felt really bad and was like, I gotta be more careful and we have to get back to things, or, something happened during the game, something like that. But like, even when he was going through his return to play, there was a lot more sort of, it felt like vague and intrigue around that. It wasn't as straightforward as maybe I might expect. And so, this whole thing just does not feel like a conventional injury situation. And I don't know who is to blame or who is to, at fault or why that's happening. But the thing that I can say is that this is not usually how it works, and something is off here, and I don't know what that means going forward, and I'm not sure how it got to that point.
Even in camp, Darisaw was always very cautious about projecting anything, and so my guess, and like you, I don't have an internal source telling me these things. I don't think they have any internal sources who want to talk about this. My guess is that Darisaw has just been uneasy about the way his knee feels, and he's being cautious. And who could blame him? But it does put the coach in a difficult position where he doesn't know if the star tackle is going to stay on the field for the game-winning drive or not.
Yeah, and it's a really difficult spot, right? Because look, this is obvious, but he is a monster player for the Vikings. Like everything changes when he is on the field. Now, yes, they were able to execute down the final drive and score without him. Great. That is not something that you bank on. That is not a repeatable scenario to kind of keep going into it, because that's the other reason why I think this was more of a Darisaw decision in the moment, is that if he truly is on a pitch count, I think you have to find ways to sprinkle in the breaks earlier in the game so that if you need him at the end, he is out there. And so, it doesn't make sense to say, yeah, we're just going to play you through the first 3 quarters or whatever. And then you're going to sit like that. That doesn't jive with what I think would be the right thing under those circumstances. And so it's a tough spot for O'Connell to be in, because he is hugely important. He's a big presence. Like all of the things that are going, you think about the longevity as well, not just this year, but going forward with one of your most important players making a ton of money. It's gotta be one that O'Connell is really sort of laboring over and kind of trying to figure out the right thing. Cause it does not feel like this is as easy as, hey, you're good to go out there and play, or you're not good to go, do not play. They're somewhere in the middle, and that's really murky right now.
All right. So we're going to pick a game on Tuesday, not knowing really what the injury report's going to look like later in the week, but we're going to pick it for fun and for the sake of the conversation. I'll go first. Cashman coming back could change the entire run defense. A good run defense, the way the Eagles are running the ball right now, might be enough to put you over the top. But at this moment, not knowing if Cashman's going to be back or if he's going to be fully back, I just have trouble picking against the Eagles. The Eagles have had their problems the last couple of years. There was a time last year it looked like they were dysfunctional, and they tend to figure it out and get going in the right direction. So I'm going to pick the Eagles in a tough game, like 22-19, late field goal type of game. I think it's going to be tough, but I just can't pick the Vikings till I know more about their injury situation and feel better about their injury situation.
Yeah, sitting here on Tuesday, I think the clearest path to victory for the Vikings is they find a way to sort of prey on what seems to be an eroding trust or belief in Jalen Hurts. And I'm not saying internally on the Eagles' part, but there's a lot swirling around Jalen Hurts right now and the way that he's playing, and is he really as good as people said he was, and all of those things. And there could be a lot going on for that. There's gonna be a lot surrounding it. So if Cashman does return and Brian Flores is able to put together a great game plan, I think that is the pathway forward to win a low scoring, tight game over the Eagles. But kind of similar to you, Jim, at this point right now, I just trust the Eagles to figure out their situation a little bit more than I trust the Vikings right now. Like, just because of the uncertainty with the injuries, what's going to be happening with some of their key players, Darrisaw, all of this. I just think that I expect at some point in the next several weeks, the Eagles are going to sort of snap out of this funk and going to start rolling. And I think that could be this weekend. And if that happens, and if they do snap out of it, I think it's going to be really, really difficult for the Vikings to win. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't know what the score is. I'll have to think about that yet. But I right now, today, I like the Eagles to win this one.
Hurts is such a fascinating figure. I mean, he loses his starting job in college. He is a 2nd-round draft pick. He ends up winning the job. And at this relatively young age, he's played well enough to have won 2 Super Bowls. He won one, and the other one he wins if Patrick Mahomes doesn't make this crazy scramble on a broken ankle. And yet there's still that feeling that, okay, he can do a lot of things well, but is he really a great quarterback? I mean, and the accomplishments say he's a great quarterback, but sometimes the eye test makes you wonder.
Yeah, it's really, I really enjoyed listening to Baker Mayfield this week. When he said, he's kind of talking about the perception of him and who he is. And he said, hey, like earlier on in my career, when we weren't winning and things were going well, I was sort of this loose cannon. I was this, live wire guy, this cocky, arrogant guy. And now that we are winning, I'm this, leader. I'm this fiery. I'm like that. I'm that. And it's turned the other way. No, I've always been the same guy. And I see a similar thing coming with Jalen Hurts right now is like, you heard when he got benched in Alabama and then comes back and helps them win, he was stoic the whole time. It was like, wow, look at this kid. Like, he is unflappable. He does not let the machine get to you, get to him. And he's so focused and it's what a great leader. Same with early on with the Eagles, like in the big market and with all the chaos around him. Here's this laser focused Jalen Hurts. Now that they've had some struggles, it's, well, Jalen Hurts isn't showing any emotion. Jalen Hurts is like, is he really a leader? Can he get a team out of the struggles and stuff? And so the pendulum is swinging definitely with him. And is he really as good as we thought he was? And so how he handles that going forward will be fascinating, because he is under the microscope going into this week. And there is a lot. And I'm kind of more of the camp of, I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback. I also don't think he's the 20th best quarterback. I think he's somewhere, 10 to 15 and is good on a good team. And when on a struggling team, you don't want him as much, but, what Brian Flores is able to do and to see if they can prey on that part of it and see if they can get in AJ Brown's head about, hey, you're not getting the ball and that sort of thing, that could play in the Vikings factor of like the mental side of things. And maybe they can win a mind game and come out on top that way.
I'll tell you what turned me against Baker Mayfield is when he was playing for the Browns in US Bank Stadium and Odell Beckham Jr. is on the team and they were having some kind of a feud. And Odell Beckham Jr. was open all game, and Baker Mayfield would drop back, look at his wide open star receiver, turn and throw the ball elsewhere, often incomplete or interception, because he was trying so hard to not throw the ball to OBJ. And that gave me an anti-Baker bias. Now I have to get over it now, because he's as good as anybody.
It's great.
He's fantastic. He's unbelievably good. So I'm well past that bias, but that's why for years I was biased to see an NFL quarterback be that petty and refuse to win a game because he didn't want to get the ball to a guy he didn't like. That did taint my opinion of Mayfield for years.
Well, and I mean, this will be a bigger conversation for another pod, but like, this is also why you do look at JJ McCarthy and you just like, hey, maybe he just give him some time to figure out what he is and who he is. And he's going to be he could be an entirely different quarterback in 2 to 3 years. Now they want to have him ready right now, but, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, there's several cases now that are starting to pop up, and it feels like even more and more lately of like, man, these quarterbacks who either flamed out or were failed by their organizations or whatever early, being able to weather and get through and go through some trials and tribulations and come out on the other side more mature, learning, figuring things out, and then being in a system that fits them better. It can work out, but it's really, really hard to be patient through the early parts of a young quarterback finding his way. It's just really difficult.
Yeah. My guess is we'll continue the JJ McCarthy conversation at some point this year.
You think so?
It might be on our top 10 recurring topics. All right. Good stuff, John. Please check out the John Krawczynski Show, one of our most popular shows at talknorth.com. Check out the Fantasy Huddle with Kevin Gorg and Randy Shaver, a really fun show. We've got 3 NFL shows. We've got Russo on hockey, John on basketball, Don Mitchell, Mark Rosen, Randy Shaver's high school football show, Chin Music with Roy Smile, Lavelle Neal, myself. Check it all out at talknorth.com. We do appreciate you listening and watching, and we'll talk to you next week.